Welcome back to F2T2. Again, I am Travis, this is Connor. We have a new client build and it is a really interesting one. We have been going back and forth with our production. It's going to be a 1080 streaming and playable rig for our client right now. The spec list Connor will go over here in a second, but it's going to be well-to-do and a beast of a game for 1080.
Biggest exciting point about this one, Ryzen 7 3700X 3000 series chip on a B450 board. It works. We ran into a little bit of trouble. We'll talk about that in a second. 16 gigabytes of Corsair DDR4 3600 CAS 18 RGB RAM Vengeance Pro. ASUS GTX 1080 Ti Strix. Got a fantastic deal on this. It's still a monster of a card. ASRock B450M Steel Legend. HP EX920 1TB NVMe Gen 3 drive. We've used these in a couple builds now and they're just screaming fast for dirt cheap compared to, for example, my 970 Evo.
I can't wait to leave my X79 for maybe Ryzen?
We'll get you there. Corsair H100i RGB Platinum White. 240mm all-in-one cooler for the CPU.
I'm going to steal this. So the client has aesthetics in mind, which is why we chose the white with him. He went out and he specifically wanted to get the white cooler. A little more pricey, but I think when it all comes together, the classiness of it, the subtleness of it, the white on the black between the case is really going to stand out, and that's really the draw point. Is he wants a showmanship. It's a full glass panel, so he's going to have everything he needs, everything he wants, and it's, in our opinion, an overkill of a rig for what he wants to game, it still is future-proof enough for him that he'll be able to fully enjoy this for years to come.
Very much so. And in all honesty, we got that H100i at a very good deal. It was only 130 bucks, so quite a bit off of, I think MSRP is about 200. We're going to be using the same case I have in my rig, NZXT H400 white case. We're going to be installing an Elgato HD60 Pro capture card. He got a refurb. That'll do good things for him. He also streams on Xbox, PlayStation, I believe. I forget which one.
Peasantry.
But we'll be able to use that for that. Eat you. SeaSonic Focus Plus Platinum 650 watt power supply should be sufficient for all of this.
And those that follow us know, if you're on our Facebook page, if not, it's at F2T2 Productions. Post up a quick shot with the 3700X. Because the board is the B450M, it doesn't have a BIOS flashback function, so we came with the Gen 2. If it wasn't for our friend and compatriot in the computer industry out here, we wouldn't have had the opportunity unless we cannibalized Connor's rig to pull a second gen chip out, which allowed us to flash the new Ryzen 2.
Well, it wasn't mine. It was
no, I'm just saying because
we would have had to cannibalize mine, which would have been just a pain in the butt given everything that's in there. You'll get a nice shot of that at some point. But yeah, we got lucky. He had a 2700X with just a air cooler strapped to it.
Right.
Made it a lot easier to pull. He's right here near us. Quick trip over. We're good to go. We're able to update the BIOS and get it all set up for a 3000 series chip.
And then takeaway point is the 3700X versus the 3600, and Connor is actually going to address that here a little bit more before we get started.
So from every content creator I've seen elsewhere on YouTube, they're all recommending the 3600 as the prime gaming chip to buy from this generation. It's a fantastic chip. It's phenomenal value for the money you're paying for it. 200 bucks for a 6-core 12-thread chip. It'll get you all the frames you want, all the performance that you need from any of these new chips. 3700X, we're strapping on another 2 cores, 4 threads. Our client streams, so that's big. He's going to be using OBS. He's going to be creating content live to YouTube and Twitch. So this will just help that run smoother. 3800X, everyone pretty much unanimously agrees there's no point for that chip to exist. Sorry, AMD. Love the rest of your lineup. So yeah, with that, let's build.
Absolutely.
I like to install the CPU, RAM, and SSD on an open test bench before installing the motherboard in the case. cleaned off the stock thermal grease that came with the Corsair H100 cooler and replaced it with Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. At this point I installed the rear I/O shield followed by the motherboard with some initial cable fitments as I start thinking about the final cable routing. I installed the rear fan, then pulled it back out as I remembered how I had it in my own H400 based rig so as to better hide the wires. In goes the radiator, followed by the front fans, with initial wire routing to the back. My preferred method of thermal pasting is to put the pea-sized dot on the heat spreader and then use a razor blade to spread it evenly around. On goes the water block. We used a Dremel to modify the rear mount 2.5-inch drive trays to fit the Corsair Lighting Node Pro controller and RGB hub. We'll probably modify my own rig to work this way too eventually. I wanted to reuse some old white cable extensions I had, but accidentally broke one of the 24-pin extension wires. A Micro Center trip later and I had new CableMod brand black and white extensions. The SeaSonic power supply cables have inline capacitor which made routing a pain in the ass, plus the extensions look good. In goes the style bar, where I first realized I wasn't going to like the way the water tubes laid. First test fit of the graphics card, further confirming I hated the way the stock PCIe power cables laid, remedied later by the cable extensions. First version of the build is complete, the system booted after this, obligatory plastic peel. Armed with new cable extensions and M2 heatsink, out comes the graphics card again. The M2 heatsink does its job, lowering temps by up to 15 Celsius under heavy file transfer load. That said, EK's design is not friendly to drives with rear-mounted chips. I had to fight hard to get this thing onto the HP EX920. I took measurements for where the water tubes would fall through the style bar and then took the Dremel to the bar. Pretty much everything about the way I did this was probably wrong, except for wearing safety goggles. Don't follow my example. I continued using the wrong tools to clean up my work on the style bar. I cut open some rubber gaskets to protect the tubing from the raw metal. Probably should have used epoxy to hold the gaskets in place, but they seem to be staying okay just from the tubes running through them. I still wasn't happy with the lay of the EPS 12-volt cable, so out came the GPU again, along with the rear radiator fan while I fiddled with it. Also took measurements for the GPU stanchion I built to help support the hefty ASUS Strix card. I now have the water tubes running through the style bar, no more stress on them. I have the cable extensions all in place, really accessing the color scheme well. I'm starting to really appreciate showing off cables instead of hiding them as much as possible. The last piece of the build. I loved everything about this build except for the way the Corsair ML140 RGB fans in the front fan cage looked from behind. These Silverstone FF143W fan meshes helped to mask that appearance and diffuse the hub-mounted RGB lights in the fans. Alright everybody, welcome back. So here it is, all done. Pretty proud of this build, really happy with the way it came out. Once again, using an NZXT H400 case, the same case I used in my build back in December. Known quantity, really enjoyable to build in, highly recommended. One downside, mATX seems to be a dying form factor. I don't know why nobody's really putting a lot of development time into it, but I love smaller builds, and this still gives us expansion option. You can see we've got a graphics card and a capture card in here. I love mATX, but you couldn't do that on that form factor, and it would just look barren and empty if you did that on full ATX. There's a place for full ATX, just kind of like my build's small. This is a white on black build, and I think it came out really sharp. We've got the Corsair ecosystem in here in full force. We have a Corsair H100i in white, and the Corsair RAM and the Corsair fans. One nice finishing touch I put on it was some Silverstone FF143W fan meshes that I think just really tied together the front of the build very well. And of course, IQ software from Corsair in full effect for managing all of this. ML140 RGB fans in the front, LL120 fans in the top and back. I did learn something unique that I should have known from my own build, since I'm also using Corsair hardware in there. The Lighting Node Pro, which you use a RGB hub to expand to 6 fans, you can only have one type of fan on that hub. So I actually had to run the front ML140 fans RGB off of the all-in-one, and the top and back fans are run off of the RGB hub as far as RGB control. Other than that, fairly easy ecosystem to work with, very well fleshed out, very enjoyable products, very good looking. Cable extensions from CableMod, great products. Really glad we used these here. I think that just nice little sharp touch there. One thing I'm very proud of is I did not love the way the tubes from the all-in-one were coming down. They were, with the default mounting of the style bar, they were kind of bent in this way, and I just didn't love that. So I ended up using a Dremel and some rubber grommets to cut some pass-throughs to allow those tubes to fall more naturally, and I'm really happy with the effect. I think the customer will be too. Overall, this is a very unique build opportunity. It's a Ryzen 3000 chip on a 400 series chipset, something the community has been looking forward to. Yes, it works. No, it doesn't degrade your performance at all. You can compare our Cinebench scores to those online. We're still getting 4800 marks on a 3700X. This thing is a rock solid performer. The one thing that I was concerned about was with temperatures. And I think that's just going to be something we're going to have to watch as a community and as BIOS updates get released with just better voltage control, better temperature control. I don't have any worries about this system over-temping, but it's not like it gives you the warm and fuzzy where you know you're never going to exceed a certain temperature. I've seen this thing get up to 82 Celsius while running Prime 95 on all cores, but I've then seen it immediately drop down to 58 Celsius. And it was actually running a 4.2 gigahertz all-core at 58 Celsius, and then it would spike up to 82 and drop down to 3.95. So, not sure what's going on there. As I say, the thing performs. You can tell that from all the benchmarks we ran on it. One of the primary uses of this system is streaming. Our client will be using OBS, streaming to, I believe, Mixer, possibly Twitch, a couple other platforms. And in my own experience on this thing, just using OBS, ran some quick stream tests to YouTube, some to Twitch. This thing is rock solid, only takes maybe 5 to 10% performance hit from doing that. And that's with OBS encoding down to 1080p from our 4K TV at slow, so high quality. Really excited about this build all told. Yeah, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for our upcoming projects. We've got another Ryzen 7 3700X build. It's going to be on another X470 board, the Gigabyte Gaming 5, and that one's going to have a full custom water loop on it. After that, we have a budget build for another customer. It's going to be running a Ryzen 5 3600 with a GTX 1070 Ti for that build. And then the last one that we currently have on the docket is going to be an absolute showcase monster. We're waiting for the Ryzen 9 3950X 16-core monster to come out, and we'll be running a RTX 2080 Ti. I'll have dual custom hard tube water loops on that system. So pretty excited. That's going to be in a Thermaltake Tower 900 case. It's going to be a lot of fun to build. All right, thanks.